G'day everybody, Lord Kevin here, and today we're going to be playing Timberborn, which is a city builder survival game about beavers. So let's just jump right into it and I'll show you about the game and I'll start building up a bit of a city. So first thing is which faction you want to use. In terms of the overall game, fairly similar between the factions. The main difference is just the type of machines they have, how they generate power, and sort of how they grow the population. I think for this, we're going to go with the Iron Teeth, and I'll explain sort of as we go. There's plenty of maps to pick from. There's a number here that are sort of beginner friendly, but I think we're going to go for terraces today, which is just something a bit interesting. And we'll just leave it on normal difficulty. So yeah, let's jump into it. All right, so first thing is naming our settlement. I think we'll just go with Beaverton. And I will pause here and we'll just get a bit of a lay of the land. So here are our beavers in our district center, which is sort of where we're going to build things from. This is the map that we're on. Fairly big size map, but we'll just focus on here for now. The main things here are water and food. And then obviously it gets more complicated from there. So the first thing we want to do is we want to just figure out a food situation. We can see up the top here our water is 0. Our beavers are okay for the moment, but we definitely want to get something soon. So in the water tab down here, we can get a deep water pump, and we can get that set up here. I'm going to rotate this around. You sort of want the spout going into the water. And then if I go to the paths and structures menu and I select paths, I'll just build a bit of a path up here. Paths are free. These take resource. You can see here it takes 12 logs. We currently have none. So the other thing we want to do is we want to set up to cut down some trees. So if we go over here to the cut trees menu, we can mark some trees for cutting. We're just going to mark all of these for now, and we'll mark all of these up here. Our beavers can get up there's a bit of a natural staircase here. All right. So yeah, under wood, we're going to go to the lumberjack over here. You can see it shows you the border of like where the lumberjack can cut. So we might go over sort of here. And if we grab a path as well, we can put a path down like that. And we'll just put a path up here. All right. So I'm actually going to get 2 of those up here. We can see that we have 8 adult beavers. So only the adults can do work. And we've already got 2 assigned here as sort of builders. So we'll just start with that and we'll speed up. You should see the lumberjack flags are free, so they'll just build those and people will get assigned and they'll start cutting down trees. And as soon as they've cut down some trees, those workers will start building up this water. The other thing we want to do is we do have a little bit of food already, but we might as well get a gatherer's flags under the food menu. Grab that, and we'll just grab 2 of those for the moment. And then we can see that that water is getting pumped. This can hold some water, and so can the district center. But I think for now, if we go under storage, there is a small tank. So we will put 2 small tanks up here, just to store that water. If we click on the tanks, tanks can store multiple things. For now, we just care about the water. So we're just going to set both of those to water. All right, so that is a good starting point. Now, what we want to do is we just want to be careful with the trees until we get the forester, which we'll get to. Once we cut down these trees, they are cut down and they will not regrow. So what you can do is you can just go through and just sort of haphazardly, there is a bit of a science to it, but you can just haphazardly deselect a couple of trees and they will grow trees around them as long as they are adult trees. So yeah, that should be all right for now. And I might just select some of these little ones over here as well so they can just grow. All right. So just something for us to be aware of is that there is sort of a drought mechanic where you'll see up here, it'll tell us when there's a drought incoming. And then the water will dry up, which is why it's important for us to store this water. So we've got that going. The next thing we want to tackle... All right, so yeah, the next thing that we want to try and tackle is probably just building up some houses. Now, this is going to take us a while to do, just because you can see here under houses, it does take 40 planks, or sorry, 40 logs. But we'll get it going. We'll put that over there, and they'll build that up as they can. The reason you want to do this, if we click on a beaver, you can see they've got a whole bunch of needs. There's a whole bunch of things we'll get to, but you can see shelter is one of them. And the happier a beaver is, or the more their needs are met, the faster they work, the faster they walk, and the longer they live. So yeah, just doing this will just help out, get their well-being up. And the other thing that we want to keep in mind is that beavers age and they will die at some point. So we do want to make sure that we are growing the population. Just before we do that, I'm going to put up another barracks over here, because you can see one of the things that's mentioned here is that how many beavers are homeless. It says there are 2, so that's why we need to build another barracks. For the iron teeth, the way that they grow their population are these breeding pods, which basically uses water and berries to make more babies. So we'll put a couple of these up. I might put them over here. I'll just do the 2 for now. So it'll be important to keep our berry population going, and keep our water going. If we have a look at our water, we are building up a bit of a supply, which is good. You can see our well-being's gone up, which should mean that if I click on one of these, someone who has a shelter, here you go, then you can see their movement speed has increased. So yeah, the better the well-being, the easier it is to maintain the settlement. All right, so I think the next thing we want to try and tackle is we're going to run out of wood pretty soon, and we can wait for those trees to grow. But another option is to build a forester. So there's a couple of things with the forester. It needs science to unlock, which we'll get into in a second, and it needs planks. So planks you make with the industrial lumber mill, which uses power to turn logs into planks. So the first thing we need to do is actually deal with power. Now, the easiest way for us to start is just with these compact water wheels, which, as long as the water is flowing, will generate power. So we'll put a couple of these down, and we're not going to be able to build this one yet because, as you can see, it says here we're not going to be able to get to it. One thing we can unlock will be stairs, and then with stairs we can get down into the water and they can build. But what I'll do for now is I'm going to grab one of these and I'm just going to put it right here. And I'll build a path straight up actually I'm going to build a path to here. Alright, so they'll build that. This will generate power and then we can get someone creating planks. Now the other thing is we need to unlock everything. So that's where science comes into it. So you have these inventor huts. So the inventor huts over time will just generate science points. So we'll chuck one of these up here. We'll assign someone there. They'll generate science points, and eventually we'll get the forest unlocked. So we'll create some planks. We won't be able to use them just yet, but that's all right. All right, let's see. So these are going. You can see that they've got the water and the berries they need, and those are in progress. And we can see here that we have 8 free beds available. So just for us to keep that in mind. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to do, just so that we have a little bit of a water reserve if a drought does happen, is we can build under landscaping. There's a whole bunch of things you can do to sort of play and manipulate with the terrain and the water. We're just going to start with a simple dam, which is the only thing we have access to, which lets water pass in a spillway over the top. I'm going to put those there, and you can see here water will pass through the top, but it will just mean that it'll build up a little bit of a reservoir as time goes on. Now you can see here this is too far away from the district. This is because we need to build a path to get there. So I'm going to build a path up there, and then you can see the green line shows you where beavers can go. So now that this will not be too far from the district, and they'll be able to build that. And you can see they're starting to do that already. And we can see that we're already starting to build up some planks, which is great. Now, planks are going to use up wood, which we have a short supply of. So I'm just going to wait until we have just enough to build the forester as a starting point, because I want to make sure we've got a good supply of logs. So within the next day, we should get enough for that. Yep, and we should get a notification that a drought is happening, but the game does give us a fair bit of time initially. All right, I'm going to pause this now. Again, I just don't want to use up the short supply of logs that we do have. All right, so I also want to... I'm just going to add another deep water pump just because I'm a bit concerned that we're not building up much of a reserve of water. And you can see here we've still got 4 beavers unemployed. So I think it'll be a good thing to have. And we can see that they're almost done here. So we're almost done here with the dam. We've got a second water supply getting built. I'm just having a look at how many logs we've got. Yes, no, we should be fine. So you can see the water is a little bit higher than it was before, and it just means when the drought happens, this will eventually spill out and then it'll stop flowing and we'll just continue to have access to that water. The other thing important for water is that you can see here where it's green and brown, things like berries and trees and food will only grow in the green areas. And if they're not green, they will die out over time. So we just want to make sure we keep this as green as possible. I'm just having a look. We've got a few beavers still unemployed. All right, so the next thing I think we're going to tackle is there's this hauling post. So these beavers assigned to this will, all they will do will carry things from one place to another. So for example here with the water, this beaver has to stop pumping water to take the water to the storage, which just means they're not pumping water and they're not producing water. Whereas if we get these haulers, we can get them to do it instead, and it means that people can just focus on what they're doing. So we'll get that built. And the other thing that we're going to get built up is the farmhouse. So the farmhouse is going to let us grow food. So we'll get that going. And then we need to tell it what it's planting. So there's plenty of different food types, and generally speaking, food you can process it further to get more food, but for now we're just going to start with the kohlrabies and plant these up here, and we'll just eat them as they are. We can get more advanced later on. And just a note, if there's any green patches, it should be able to grow on there. If you try to grow it here, the farmer just won't plant it. That should be good enough for now. So let's get that all built up. Cool, so we've got our 2 farmers assigned there. We've got our 2 workers here. Okay, now this actually wants planks, so I'm going to unpause this and get a few more planks built. And then once these farmers have planted this, I'm going to pause this because there's nothing they have to do to maintain it as it grows. It will just grow. Once it's grown, then we can look at harvesting it. How's our science going? Okay, we've actually got enough science now to unlock the forester, so I'm going to do that. And again, similar with the lumberjack flag, we have this sort of border telling us where they can and can't plant. So I think if I go there, and it's going to ask me if I want to spend my points, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to put a path there. All right, we can pause the farmer now, which should just mean we're about to reassign beavers elsewhere. We are going to leave that on pause because now we're trying to build the forester, and we're going to need the planks for it. So we'll let that go. And while we're waiting, under plant trees and bushes, this is where we can plant trees and bushes. In our case, the main thing we care about right now is trees. Now, again, there's a number of different trees. They serve different purposes. I typically like to do a little bit of a mixture. The main reason is, if I pause here for a second, the birch takes 9 days to give you 1 log. The pine is 12 days to give you 2, and the oak is 30 days to give you 8. This is obviously the better option, but it does mean that you wait 30 days to get any wood out of it. You can sort of plant some trees, then wait a while, plant some more trees, and do that, and then you should sort of get a continuous supply of trees. The other thing I like to do is I will just plant a few trees of different types, so that there's, rather than remembering to do a bunch of different trees at various points to try and get a continuous supply. So let's do, maybe down here we'll do all of those, and then up the top here we can do some oaks. Where did that say it covered to? Okay, all the way up to there. So yeah. And then what we'll do is we're going to go back to cutting trees, and now that we've got this, we're just going to say you can cut down everything. Sweet. And I'm just going to remove some of these just in case we put something here. We don't want it to accidentally cut these down. And then the other thing, just as a bit of cleanup, because I've got the trees going to here, they're going to cut these down, but I'm going to go to demolish buildings and resources and go demolish resources, and I'm just going to pick these sort of stumps here just to get them out of the way. I'll wait for them to cut down those trees before I do the same thing. All right, how are we looking? Everyone is assigned. We have 2 baby beavers. We've had a couple of deaths. We've had a bunch of beavers grow up. We've still got a bunch of space for new beavers. Okay, everyone's complaining about food. Okay, that's because these berries are finished. So let's have a bit of a look. So they've basically got until this bar reaches the bottom to before they'll die. So we should be okay. These should be ready within the next day or 2. Okay, and we've got some berries getting picked up. What I am going to do is I'm going to get a small warehouse, and I think we'll put that here. We might just do a couple of small warehouses for now. I'm going to say 2 of these are for berries, and the other ones are going to be for the kohlrabis, which are here. All right, so these are ready to go. So I'm going to unpause that. We are going to pause the lumber mill. I've just pressed P to pause that. The forester is still going, but yes, the let's see, where is everyone assigned right now? Let's make this the higher priority. Okay, cool. There we go. So we've got 2 people in there. And we can click on here. This is going to tell us where people are not assigned. So the forester, then there's no one in the hauling post. That's right. Look, I think the main thing for now is that everyone gets some food. We obviously don't want our beavers dying. That would be a terrible start. So we'll let everyone get to bed. We do have some new beavers coming, and hopefully these 2 babies will grow up soon. There's a notification the first drought is coming. The first one is normally pretty short. Just something I want to mention here, actually, I just noticed. We have planting as the priority. I'm actually going to change that to harvesting, just because we know everyone's hungry. So we want them to focus on that. All right, and hopefully we start building up a bit of food. The other thing I want to look at doing is let's just go berries, I think we want to make sure that as much of this area is set up for berries as possible. Now, it is probably going to mean another forester's hut, just because we've got a forest hut over there. Sorry, just foresters, but that's okay. I think we'll just build that over there, and we'll just move people around as we need to. Hopefully, some of these berries get collected soon. I'm going to make this a higher priority as well. Let's just see what got paused. The water. Okay, that's probably not great. Let us... I'm going to actually pause the science building. I would prefer that we are collecting as much water as we can. And yeah, okay, cool. So we're starting to store up a bit of food here. I mainly did this just so we could cover any gaps in the berries, so we can make sure we definitely have as many as possible. And we've got a bunch of beavers that have grown up, so that should mean that we actually have most things assigned, which is great. The other thing I want to look at, I can see there's this beaver here has broken teeth. Now under well-being, there is a medical. Oh no, sorry, it's the grindstone. So this like helps them heal with their broken teeth faster. So I'm gonna put a few of these down. Yeah, just because it would be affecting their productivity. All right, we are slowly building up a bit of food. I think what I might do is I'm going to get them to focus on planting again, just because it's fairly quick to do, and I don't want us to, gather all of these kohlrabies and then, just run out of food again because we haven't planted any. So they're almost done with that, and now they can start harvesting. And when we've got a forester over here, so really the only thing right now we've got paused is the science, which is okay. We don't need it right this second. Hopefully, all of this should help. All right, I think that's a good place to end it for today. Lots and lots of stuff that we set up. We can see the drought started. We'll deal with that next episode. We've got our water storage going. We've got a decent amount of water stored. We've hopefully resolved our food issue. We've got some industry started, and I think we're in a fairly good spot. So thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.